Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with the 5 last piano sonatas by Ludwig van Beethoven. You remember him, right? Performed by English superstar, barrister, and pianist extraordinaire Paul Wee on Bis. I've been living with these performances for quite a while, actually. I wanted to do this review much earlier because I received these, but there was an issue. I don't understand what was going on with Bis, but I wanted the music to be available on both physical product and streaming, downloads and things, because that's sort of how we do it nowadays. And I wanted you to be able to listen right away after the review so that you wouldn't get frustrated and annoyed and antagonized and whatnot. And it turns out that Apple Music still doesn't list this. I don't know what's going on. And Presto, where I do a lot of this stuff, had it listed as coming soon until very, very recently. So I'm not quite sure what was going on because I've had it for a couple of months. On the other hand, on the plus side, that gave me a chance to live with the performances. And they took some living with, because they're very intelligent and very, very fine technically. I mean, Wee is a technical genius. He can play anything. He's like, Marc-Andre Hamelin and those people, he could do. And most of his previous recordings involved, the crazy virtuoso repertoire of, Alcan and Thalberg and things like that. Stuff that off the beaten track, repertoire, which is really very smart because there isn't so much competition and he could display his talents to, best effect. So I was happy to have a chance to sit down with these performances and study them more intently. And really, they deserve that because they're quite thoughtful and probing and quite different. And I asked myself, I'm sure you'll ask yourself, this repertoire, even if you're a great, great technician and barrister, how on earth are you going to distinguish yourself from the billions of other superb pianists who've recorded this music? I mean, there's a great temptation to do different things for their own sake. Or if you do different things, to have people say, oh, he's just trying to do something different for its own sake. And that's a risk. It's a legitimate risk. I don't see any way around it. I'm sure there will be people who will listen to these and say, well, he's just doing. There are some moments, actually, where I found the interpretations maybe just a tad mannered. Mostly in the Hammerklavier Sonata, the first couple movements of the Hammerklavier, actually, to be specific. Not so much elsewhere. Wee has such a technical gift. I mean, he can play very softly, very loudly, with crystalline clarity. I mean, all the fugal movements are going to be unbelievably clean and clear, and they are. They're wonderful. They're just marvelous. You ask yourself, is he up to the expressive demands of the music, or is it just going to be a rather cool and cerebral, technical exercise? Well, it's not that. Let me banish any notion that that's what's happening. That is not what's happening here. So let's talk about these performances one sonata at a time, pluses and minuses, with the understanding that Wee is operating at a very, very, very high level of technical finish. Of course, we expect that from him and from any pianist who undertakes this music these days. And also, I think, with great sincerity and intelligence. And that you can't take for granted. Even where he does things that are a little bit different or may raise an eyebrow or two, I never got the sense that this was poking at the music or playing with it or being different for its own sake. You just don't feel that, because he does what he does with great conviction and confidence throughout. And that's really the important thing. The question will then become whether the interpretations are to your taste or not. I mean, that's what it boils down to in any performance, right? I know that's a generic point, but it's particularly true when you're dealing with such frequently recorded repertoire, and such high standards that have been set by, some of the greatest artists who have ever existed in the history of humankind. So there you go. All right, Sonata number 28, the A major, Opus 101. It begins quite beautifully. The second movement, the march, I found a little pokey. There's a tendency in these performances to indulge in a very clipped staccato articulation. I mean, we takes great pains to vary his articulation, which is a good thing. It really is. But there are moments when I think you just need to as Jed Disler would say, you need to be deeper in the keys. You have to press down with a little bit more firmness instead of having a sort of light staccato touch. I felt that in the second movement. I did. The slow adagio, I mean, it's langsam and Sehnsucht wohl. I really like the way he handles the slow music. He can spin out a gorgeous legato. He really can, and he does. And the concluding, the finale is beautiful. I mean, really, really well done, shapely, elegant, and not given to, I think, excesses of pseudo-profundity, if you know what I mean. I mean, from certain other performances. But it's very good. But that sort of sets the parameters. And in the Hammerklavier, which comes next, we have a couple of issues. First of all, the opening allegro is I really like the tempo he sets. I like his headlong, thrust into the music. The problem is, I mean, the work itself is tough, right? We all know that. And it seems that the way Beethoven sort of conceived it is that all of the emotion in the piece, the feeling, is packed into the slow movement. Everything else is architecture. It's rather cool emotionally, and I think intentionally so. I think Wee is trying to spread the feeling around a little bit, which is very interesting. But in the first movement particularly, there are small hesitations at the end of phrases and little rubati and things like that check the music's onward rush. And I would prefer that the onward rush onward. That's a personal thing. In the scherzo, lots of people they really pound those last two notes, which I like. Beethoven is rough sometimes. Wee is not rough. He does the super staccato thing, which I think is just no. That's how I feel about it. But he does it well. That's true. I like a little bit more punch, because he can deliver the punch. He's fabulous at the lower note, part of the keyboard, and when Beethoven, really asks for it. So I think I get the concept. I disagree with it. So there you have it. But in the adagio, he's beautiful. He doesn't rush it. It's 18 minutes long. And it's a gorgeously hushed inward performance of that adagio, and it's absolutely lovely. And the final fugue, whoa, my goodness, he's firing on all cylinders. It goes like gangbusters. So it's not an entirely successful performance in my view, but it's a very powerful one. And over the couple of months that I've been listening to it and playing around with it, I've come to like it more. So you may too. Anyway, then we get the last three sonatas. Okay. First, number 30, the E major. The opening movement, it's gorgeous in this performance. It just erupts like an improvisation. It's seamless, and it's flowing and beautifully pedaled, and I don't know. It really sounds just like perfect to me. It's absolutely wonderful. The Prestissimo second movement is not crazy prestissimo. which I think is a good thing. It has clarity and rhythm, and it's powerful, and the concluding variations are exquisitely beautiful. So that's number 30. Number 31. Okay, let's see what we got there. Oh, yes, of course, that beautiful opening movement. Another, when Beethoven writes cantabile and molto espressivo, is generous with it, I think. I mean, in the context of these performances, he has no problem, imbuing the music with the feeling that Beethoven asked for. Then there's another quick scherzo, middle movement, which is oodles of fun. And then the fugue, the finale. The fugue. Oh, the fugue is fun. It's so fugal. It's absolutely terrific. Really, actually, it's a fugue with the adagio episodes, and it's all so well integrated. I mean, it just goes unfolds fabulously well, beautiful. And in the last sonata, okay, yeah. Well, the last sonata has that fabulous bum bum bum. Do you ever think that that Mahler does that in the finale of the Second Symphony, doesn't he? Where the percussion crescendos are. It's one of the main motives in that finale. Dum bum bum. Bum bum bum. Anyway, it just occurred to me, when I was listening to this performance. There's no frippery in that performance, in this performance at all. It's powerful and it's rugged. And that's what you want in this music. That's what you want a little bit of anyway in moments in the second movement of the Hammerklavier. And we don't get it to that degree. But the first movement's terrific, and then the arietta. Oh, I mean, come on, it's first of all, he's got amazing trills. You got to do the trills from hell, and boy, does he nail the trills from hell. But the thing that impressed me most about this performance of the arietta was its simplicity. I mean, there's that sort of boogie woogie variation in the middle. Some people say foreshadows jazz. Doesn't really, does it? But it kind of does. I mean, the sound of it is let's just say a little bit ahead of his time, and he nails that. I mean, he really launches himself into it with a lot of juice and vigor, and the end is very affecting, and it's touching in its total simplicity. He's not trying to make a transcendental point, I don't think. I mean, I don't know what was in his head, but what I do know is that the music comes to a very, very simple, beautiful close that I think sort of illustrates the sincerity of the interpretations generally. For all the art that goes into these performances, that goes in his variety of touch and articulation and some of the interpretive choices he makes, he's not trying to score points. He really isn't. He's allowing the music to speak, and I was impressed, and I continue to be impressed the more I listen to these performances. So I definitely think you should hear them. I have to say, I had a funny experience when I first opened the box. It's in a box, nice little 2 CD box with beautiful notes in a thick multilingual booklet, and then you open the box, and this is what you see. And I just freaked out. It's like, oh my God, I got an empty box. I got a box with a booklet and no CDs. Well, it turns out that BIS has come up with an entirely new way to package CDs. They're invisible. See, because here it is. See these paper sleeves. They are exactly the same color as everything else in the box, and they just lay in here. They're in here. It took me a minute. I was like, where are they? They're in here. The CDs were in here, and you can download them from Presto at least, and I'm sure from some other streaming services as well. And they are available, but not on Apple Music for some reason. I don't know why. I'm sure that they will be at some point, or if, as soon as I say they're not, they'll probably pop up. Very, very, very worthy, interesting, and powerful performances of the last 5 sonatas. A major project, I think, brought home with mastery and sincerity and humility, and exceptional technical facility. And that's pretty damn good, I think. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks for joining me. Take care.